Hey, what's up, guys? This is WWE Games. We're back today to film my very final video of WWE Supercard Season 7. I haven't covered anything with Season 8 just yet, but today's video we're going to be covering a little bit about Season 8, things we know, things we want to see in the new season, and this video is going to be discussing 6 really big things that both myself and the community that I've talked to on the WWE Supercard community, so that's through Twitter, Twitch mostly, and Discord, and the things that we want to see in the new season at some point, something along those lines, just things that I think players will like. You don't have to agree or think every idea is going to be a good idea. You can discuss it, and I'd love to have that open conversation with people down in the comments. So let me know your opinions on some of these things. But today I'm not going to be opening any packs, just playing a little bit of Giants Unleashed in the background while we discuss some of these points. Some of the points are a bit more in-depth, so I will go through and talk about them in a larger point. But until then, though, make sure you guys just sit back, enjoy the video. Let me know your thoughts again, like I said, down in the comments. Leave a like, of course, to support the channel, and subscribe if you are new. And feel free to come hang out with us live over on twitch.tv/DanMakesGames, or feel free to jump into the Discord as well. Community over there is like 600-something people strong, and it's a great community. I love it. Anyways, let's get into the video. We're going to start with point number 1. So the first one we're going to talk about is something that I think a lot of people want to see at some point. It's a very hit and miss. A lot of people think it'd be OP. A lot of people don't. But we're going to talk about trading. What if WWE Supercard introduced trading into their game? How would it work? Is it possible? Would it just make it super OP? Well, I've talked about it. I've put into it a little bit of my game dev experience in terms of balancing and things and ways it could work. And I'm going to explain to you what I sort of think about it. And again, I'm not affiliated with Cat Daddy. There's no idea whether or not this will work. Personally, I'm on board with the idea. I think it will work as long as it is balanced. So here's the idea. So if trading was to be introduced in Season 8, I think it would have to be an option that you might see down the bottom, similar to what you see with, say, the Super Pass that's currently there, or the Fusion Chamber. So what I mean is you would have another selection like this right next to it, next to Fusion Chamber, that would say trading. So in that trading, it could work on the same lines and pretty much identically to what a Fusion Chamber would. So for example, you can trade only 1 card at a time. Sometimes you can trade 2 if you pay that extra credit fee, the same way the Fusions do. And the same way if you, for example, are a top tier player currently, and before these new Season 8 tiers drop of Maya, Maelstrom, and Valhalla, for example, if you are a SummerSlam 21 player like myself who currently has a Fusion on, you could instead perhaps trade a card. So the same way that a SummerSlam 21 Fusion currently works at the moment, it works for 5.5 days until that point when you get your card back. The Fusions in which would have to work on a similar level so that they would take 5.5 days to fully finish the trading process. So it's not an instantaneous thing, and people can't just do it whimsically every day and just basically finish the tier in a few days, because we don't want that. No one wants that. That's too OP, obviously. So if you were to put it down to potentially even once per week, you can trade a top tier card. That is one way to limit how fast people can do it. With dusting mechanics in the game and people grinding for tier pools, all that sort of stuff, people are going to get tier pools and everything much faster than that anyway. So the likelihood is you might even end up trading for a card in this scenario, and you get it as a dust pool, exclusive board reset, tier pool, anything during the week, or it could appear in an event. You never know. This would mean that certain cards, obviously, that are in events would then be hot drops, so people would try and trade event cards, etc. with each other, which is a question. But certain cards, say normal base tier cards, such as, like, say, Randy Orton or Edge, could be in an event and would mean that a lot of people would want to trade that card. Sure, but if it takes another week, people would most likely have an option and several tier pools, several exclusive resets in that time anyway, to which they would possibly get the chance to get it. The idea is that if fusions are done slow enough and balanced enough that you have to equate the same level of thing, like a SummerSlam single for a SummerSlam single, that sort of thing, then it could work. And I think at the same time as well, it would be important to cap what people can and cannot trade. So, for example, singles, that would be the only thing that people could trade. Other things, for example, you couldn't go into and trade event cards, because that would be OP. If you could trade a full heroic event card, last man standing card, or anything like that, that would be dangerously overpowered, especially if you can trade a card back. Potentially as well, you might want to cap it if it was to be a thing where you cannot trade full pros. So it can only be singles, the same way that the cards can. That way you can't just hand pros over to people that need it. People can't use alternative accounts to get pros and then hand them all over to one account at the end of a tier. Things like that would make it so that people can't abuse it and level up too fast, too quickly, and just become overpowered. And as for a reason as to why I particularly like this, is that it is slow enough that you can get the cards that you want and the pros that you want, etc. But it doesn't make you OP at all. It's not too fast. It's a steady pace in which you can just casually collect the cards that you want to. More so than, for example, when you start a tier, your top 8 will look a little bit different. And here's an example, right? My alternative account, its current top 8 does not have any event card. It just has normal cards like a Drew McIntyre Pro, an Edge Pro, etc. And they're cool. I like both those cards. But for example, I'm not the biggest fan of Austin Theory, and I would much rather choose the Pro I could get. So Instead of hunting down and collecting that Austin Theory, about in the same amount of time, I could have potentially gone out and got a card that I really, really like, such as Jeff Hardy. That way it allows players to choose the images and the catalog stars, etc. of the pros that they want more so. It won't necessarily make them any faster at getting them. It might do, very, very slightly, but it allows players to get new cards and the cards they specifically want. Any missing stars, such as like Eve Marie Forged, which I know a lot of Twitch chat want to get, you can trade those. That could be a card that, people could get. Just means that you can get the images and stuff you want a little tiny bit easier. But again, I think that topic is open for debate. If you think there's other parts to it that you think would need to be included for that to be a thing, let me know. If you like that sort of idea, of course, let me know as well down in the comments. This is one of those that I think is going to be a big discussion, so I put it in as the first point of today's video. But we have 5 more points to cover in today's video, as well as to things I think people really, really want to see. If you are enjoying the video at this point, make sure you do drop that like, friendly reminder for it, and subscribe to the channel. We are nearly at 1,300 subscribers, and we have plenty of Season 8 content dropping on the day of the new tiers, so that will be Wednesday, 17th of November, another video on the Thursday, the day after, and a bunch of extra ones added to it as well, all covering a lot of Season 8 content. It's going to be pretty good, and I'm going to be filming potentially 2 of my biggest ever YouTube videos, so you don't want to miss those. Anyways, we're going to get into point number 2. The second point to add, this is one I've sort of discussed with Twitch chat before, and it's just something I think would be generally really cool. So, for those that don't know, and you somehow maybe can't tell, I am from the United Kingdom. In the United Kingdom, PvP goes down every single Tuesday night at about 10 p.m. And you don't get anything back until the Wednesday morning when you wake up, usually. Which means if you want to do some late night gaming or anything like that along with WWE Supercard, you are pretty much limited because there will be no team events, no main events, no PvP modes available. The only game modes that are available are Wild and Money in the Bank, which, it takes an hour to get about back for Money in the Bank, and Wild modes, people aren't the biggest fan of playing it constantly. And I love the fact that in Season 8 we have a brand new PvP mode coming, but I'm thinking, what if we had another mode that wasn't bound to PvP, that you could play outside of any time, similar to Wild, that you can play it at any time of day, any day of the week? Because that way there's then 3 modes that you can play when PvP goes down. But by adding just the one new PvP mode, which again I'm super excited to see and I will cover, it's still tied to that specific time slot. You can't play it outside that time. And even though it's only a short period of time, I'm often found on a Tuesday night after I've done a stream on like a variety day or something, that I'm just sitting down playing a little bit of Supercard, and all of a sudden PvP turns off, and I'm sitting there at 10 o'clock thinking, well, I'd still wanted to play Supercard for another hour or 2. I don't have any ads left, and Money in the Bank's taking an hour each to get one bout back, and other than that, all I can play is Wild, and I don't particularly need to trade any cards up, and I wanted to try one other game mode. It's been this way for a long time, and I just think maybe it's time to introduce a new mode. No suggestions as to what that new mode could be, but again, if you have ideas for it, let me know down in the comments. I think that'd be really cool. Some good feedback to give it to Cat Daddy, and again, maybe it could happen. You never know. You never know. Again, I'm not a person that's related to them in any way or giving official feedback or anything like that. I'm not that cool. But it's just ideas. It's a video concept. I thought I'd like to have the discussion, basically. If you're a content creator, you are welcome to make a reply video to this or let me know what you think. I would love to be able to see it, watch it, and engage with it too. In open discussion, I'm not throwing heat or shade or anything in these comments. If you don't like ideas, that's fine. It's up to you. Honestly, these are just suggestions. So the next couple ideas are kind of linked. They are very, very similar to things that we've seen before. And I want to give a big props as well, because Twitch drops are coming back, so that'll be huge for the creators that get to do it. And I love the fact that Cat Daddy are introducing that to more Twitch creators and everything along those lines, including YouTube creators, next makers, all that sort of good stuff. We love that. And along with Twitch drops, you got things like Reward Mania and all sorts of really cool new ideas in the game. So this next idea does come from the Twitch drops, the ones that I did, which gave out logos and remastered cards, such as the Roman Reigns remastered card, the John Cena remastered card, and the local talent. I still don't have the local talent. I'm still not salty about it, which may or may not come into where this idea comes from. So here's the idea. A lot of people want to see a return of more remastered and more legacy cards, potentially even as event cards, all sorts of things like that. So for example, if you missed an event card a long time ago, for example, I missed one of my favorite tiers worth of event cards because I wasn't playing events back at this point. So for example, I'm missing Shattered event cards. I don't have Asuka, but that's not the biggest crisis to me. The biggest crisis to me is that one of my favorite superstars, Batista, had an event card in this tier that I don't even remember seeing, and I've seen since. I love the image. I would love to be able to get it. I'll pop it on the side of the screen. I love that image. I just love Batista cards. You guys know this. You've seen the clips. There's a lot of other cards in here. The Dean Ambrose card would be lovely to have. Same with Daniel Bryan, and of course, one of my other favorites is in here too. I'm just going to point his name out. He might or might not be Jeff Hardy. Being able to remaster, even so, for example, older event images, or just generally old Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3 cards would be really, really nice for players that are maybe joining the game now and have a shot to get some of the older images. I've never had a Stephanie McMahon, for example, and I really want to get a Stephanie McMahon image. I'm just putting it out there. I've got a Vince. I finally got a Vince the last time Legacy Packs came out, and I I would love to have another shot at it. So in other words, this point is basically like, we want to see more remastered stuff. We want to get more legacy packs. I've asked Twitch chat who would pick up those packs in the store. Literally everybody said yes. There was like 40, 50 people going like, hey, yeah, I'd like to get this. I'd like to play that. I'd like to get some of these legacy packs. As you guys know, I'm an image collector. I have 7,327 stars. That's a lot of stars, but, you know, it could be more if I played back in the earlier seasons, and I just love an opportunity to be able to go back and get some of those cards. But this point does lead into a few of the next ones, which is, for example, one of this like store collection stands where you can pick cards. If you've never seen what this means, I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, I used to collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards, play Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was a big fan of it, and I used to go into the stores and buy the packs, etc. But they used to always have a display case board where there were specific cards put on shelves that you could buy individually for a certain cost. I remember going out there and spending on specific cards that I really wanted, and it would help you choose and pick the decks you wanted to make. If you go into the Superstore, for example, you have a wide variety of packs. For example, at the top, we're currently still rocking our Money in the Bank Mandy Rose image, and also our Tommaso Ciampa, which of course are very, very nice Halloween-themed images. They are very expensive. So here's the next part. The same way that you can go down and you can buy packs, like for example the mix bag, which offer a wide variety of different cards that have been special events throughout, you know, the previous season. I would like to see something similar for legacy cards. So potentially, like when you go down to the bottom, you have these certain boards down the bottom where you have like your card backs you can choose. So you could choose your Macho Man down here, etc., your draft picks. What if we added a small other section into it? And this will be only a very rough sketch sort of idea to what it could look like, but essentially like a pinned board that lasts a whole month, like the Money in the Bank cycle. And for the purpose of this, I have put legacy cards in there, may or may not have included Stephanie McMahon because I want that card. This is the idea, that you could potentially buy these for 2,000 super coins each, and potentially just do it for a little bit of image collecting. It would be something nice that people, you know, might want to get. Their favorite superstars might come back into rotation, etc., with some old legacy cards. Even if these were paid for packs with real credits, I still think that board could be a really idea. It could rotate weekly, monthly, whatever it could be, but generally, I think it could be a really cool new pack, and it would allow people to get more legacy cards that would be really interesting, and I just think that would be a really nice feature to add to the store. And if that was to be a thing, would you spend real credits or would you spend super coins or both to get some of these cards? I would love to know. So the last 2 points we have are sort of tied together, but they're also kind of linked to the last ones. Let me explain. So the same way that we just discussed having legacy cards or a legacy stand in the store where you can pick specific cards, I think, for example, that your profile could do with a little bit of updating as well, because when you look at someone's profile, you can see their top 8. You can see their top 8 most recent cards, and you know what they've got best this tier. For example, I have that full Rook Big E that we managed to get over the Twitch drop weekend, which I think was really cool. After that, you can see my other top cards, and you can also see my team cards. When I do deck checks and stuff on Twitch, I don't do them very often, but what I always say to people when doing deck checks is make sure you put something interesting in your team cards, because more often than not, your team cards are literally your top 8. It's my top 2 males and my top female card. But I get people to change it to random cards that aren't obviously in Legacy, and you know, you can customize it, show off some of your nicest images, your rarest event cards, your old ranked cards that no longer reach your top 8s, and you know, be able to show off that you got like a top 50 on a certain event card. So what I'm suggesting is that you maybe take a collection board, say of 8 superstars at the top, just like this, add it down below, right at the bottom. It can be down here below, like cosmetics, stuff like that, wherever you want to put it, and it could allow people to showcase 8 of their absolute favorite images and combinations of them. So if you're switching around however you want to make your image look, but allow people to showcase 8 of their absolute favorite cards in the game. This could be like LMS ranked cards if someone got number 1 in 2 tiers or something like that, or someone who got a 10,000th place card. It could be someone who has a special edition card, a 4-5-3 of, say, Alexa Bliss Halloween. Anything at all, you could showcase things that are your favorite, and I think that would be a good thing to add to the profile to really update it and give people a reason to check out each other's profiles, you know, follow each other. I just think that'd be really cool. Speaking of which, at the end of that point, if you haven't followed me in game, here is my username, DamnBaseGames, with 812 followers currently. You feel free to smash it up if you want to. Anyways, originally we had one more point left, but I have kind of thought on moving on to an extra one, so I am going to attach an extra one on the end. But until then, the last point originally was going to be about the catalog space. So originally we have 400 cards that we can collect to. At the moment, I have 372 out of 400, which is the best I ever sort of get it to, because usually I filled it up and it's just completely full at all times. Thing is though, a lot of those cards for me are actually in my legacy collection. Like a large majority of them are, because I hold on to things that I like to do, which again links to the showcase that this was my very first event card. like that took 2 weeks. Previously, though, it's not my first. This is my true first event card, which is Batista. WrestleMania 34 Last Man Standing, one of the first LMS cards, I believe the second ever LMS card to come into the game. And I really wish that legacy cards, and chat have discussed this with me as well, that legacy cards maybe don't count towards that 400 catalog, that once they're legacy, you can keep them regardless, just for the sake of memories and the nostalgia feel of like, hey, I remember going back in olden tiers. Like here, for example, I hold on to old school monster cards just for the sake of like trying new images on them. This was my old Elimination Chamber deck that I used for like 2 years. It was all monster female pros, and I love having this deck, and I never really want to get rid of it. I love the backgrounds to these cards. They feel old and nostalgic to me to the time I started playing the game almost 5 years ago. It would be great if they didn't count towards the 400 total, because as more tiers turn into legacy, I'm going to want to hold on to more things, and eventually that's just going to get kind of really stuck. You know, you had a separate legacy collection that didn't count towards the 400, but you could perhaps hold 200 legacy cards. That could be a really cool feature to add that frees up a little bit more space for more players to get more cards, play the game a little bit more, while still holding on to their absolute favorite cards and images. I know that's the thing a lot of people have been asking for, but let me know in the comments if that's something that you would also be going for. A lot of people don't have that problem, but also a lot more people do have that problem. I'm one of those. Normally I sit there with about 5 cards space to be able to pick and dust with, and that takes a long time to go through picks, which means I've actually got more space in the moment, and that's going to be a lot better for one of the upcoming videos. Stay tuned for that. But those are some of the biggest points that we were going to discuss so far. So one of the final points, though, also links to the fact that we are currently in the catalog, especially in Legacy. So as you guys can see, these monster cards don't have their original images. We have Sasha Banks' Halloween event on here, for example, the Charlotte Flair SummerSlam 21 image, all sorts of really cool combinations. And some of my favorite combinations are from Legacy cards, and they are customized. This is not the original image for the Bliss. This was an extreme image of Bliss, but the original card that it is on is a Titan Money in the Bank. So the idea that we're suggesting here is that when people are allowed to set their champs, you can choose both the background and the image. Because currently when you select a champ, you can only choose a specific card and its current like background. So if you wanted to pick that Bliss, the original black and white one, you get the extreme black and white background. But if you wanted to try it with, say, for example, this background, which happens to be one of my favorite backgrounds of any card, like the Elimination Chamber in the background, the red glow to it, I think it looks phenomenal. Personally, that sort of combination there, specifically like this, would look phenomenal if you were to take this as a screenshot and put it straight onto your profile, rather than having to choose the original image so that it would say, for example, sit right here. I just think it'd be something nice like customizing your profile. So custom champs that allow you to choose backgrounds and the image, so 2 things rather than just the one. Having like a featured section for cards down here so you can showcase some of your favorites. I just think it means it brings more to the value of looking at each other's profiles and, like, you know, messaging each other and following each other, and it's just a cool little added extra that I think some people would really like myself. Again, if you do like these sort of points, make sure you drop a like on the video and of course subscribe for more. So overall, it's not like I'm saying I'm unhappy with what's coming in with Season 8. I absolutely love it and cannot wait to play it. There's just a few things that I've been wanting to see for a long time, one of which was, say, for example, upgradable support cards that are now coming into the game in Season 8. Again, hallelujah for that one. I've been preaching that for months because I've had these 2 support cards since the very start of the tier, which happen to cover speed and charisma to deck, and of course the other one is Paul Heyman, which covers power and toughness. So I've had no need to get SummerSlam supports or any supports for the entire tier, and that's been quite a while. SummerSlam's a long tier. But now the fact you can upgrade them, potentially pro them, that sort of stuff, that's going to make it a little bit more to it. So when you get them off of your exclusive board, you're like, oh, I can now pro my, I can now upgrade my support card. That'd be kind of really cool. And I can't wait to see how that's going to play out, and I can't wait to get my very first one. I'm super excited for Season 8. Let me know how hyped you are for Season 8 down in the comments, and of course by showing me by ringing that like bell. Let's hit for a really high like goal of, say, 50+ likes on this video, and subscribe, of course, if you are new. Thank you guys for watching this video. It's my last of Season 7, and I cannot wait to bring you so many more new Season 8 videos in the very, very near future. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Actually, I'll see you in Season 8. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.